Yeah, so I've been working in go-to-market operations, revenue operations for the last 10 years of my life. And so I've dealt with almost every single contract in a company, in a SaaS business. So I've touched all the new logo, the upsells, the renewals, anything that had to get papered to get signed between a buyer and a seller. I was usually the one that was managing that or managing the team. And so there's so much friction and bottlenecks in that process. And there has been minimal to no innovation in how companies kind of facilitate the final mile of their business. And so it's starting to have a huge impact in how easy or how hard it is for for buyers to buy product or to subscribe to a piece of software. And companies nowadays, especially during COVID, are starting to realize that buyer behavior is changing. So the millennial buyers, the millennial decision makers in the market are seeking out frictionless vendors to go buy from. If you look at the way that my technical team buy software, they buy software in the middle of the night. Like they're going on people's websites, they're avoiding sales reps, they're avoiding form fills, they're avoiding the bots that would, try to schedule 20 meetings with them. And they're just going on product documentation. They're looking at, your website. And then when they're compelled to buy, they swipe their credit card. And so I think that's a huge untapped market for these companies where, if they have a $5,000 piece of software, $20,000 piece of software, they're missing out on a significant part of the market by not accepting or being easy to buy from. And so what Salesbricks is doing right now is building and giving SaaS companies the infrastructure to literally digitize the final mile of the sales process. And so we give them an e-commerce platform to design pricing and packaging, able to iterate and modify and test it out instantly without having to be tied to hip with a engineer, and then basically be able to quote or offer URL based order forms or checkouts so that customers could understand what the terms and conditions are, what the pricing is, maybe ask for a discount or two, and then when they're ready to go, like they have a path of no resistance at all to either sign on, to check out with a credit card or an order form. And then we have all these features that allow auto provisioning, understanding how they're using your product, supporting the renewals, the entire life cycle of a traditional, tech buyer. And we do all that stuff within our platform.
Awesome. That was a really nice intro. And so I'm just going to put this on screen just for anyone following along on YouTube. So the couple of things come to mind as you gave that intro. Is it e-commerce or is it SaaS?
So we provide a platform. Yeah, that's a good question.
Because you said e-commerce, and to me that's a different category.
Yeah, so when I meant e-commerce, what I meant is you can sell your product online, right? So there's a lot of components and factors when you sell software that is very similar to the B2C world, where you have to deal with pricing and packaging, you have to deal with a lot of the tax components, you have to deal with who's selling the product. So we provide a platform for you to do that and sell your software almost instantly.
Got it. And then so it's interesting because when I initially thought about this, so this is the part, right? This is the kind of the visual that you're doing the last mile thing. When I initially came across this idea, I thought that you were determining prices for me. Do you do any of that, or is it more of just providing the platform for people to do that?
Yeah, we provide the platform for companies to price their products, right? So, eventually as we grow up, we'll start to probably build features where we could give you the metrics to determine, is this pricing working or not working? So doing A/B testing within our actual platform. But ultimately, the tools that we provide off the bat is allowing our customers to say, my subscription costs $100 per month or $10,000 per month, or maybe $1,000 per year or $150,000 per year, and we allow them the ability to go define all of those components of pricing and packaging for themselves, right? And basically expose that to their customers and allow the customers to figure out which plan or which product they want to go buy.
Yeah, yeah, gotcha. Okay, so I mean, it's interesting because maybe the best way that we can sort of apply this is to apply it to the company that I work at,
Yeah.
because we don't have a public pricing page. So I work at my day job. I work at Temporal. There's no pricing page here. And we have a cloud offering, but you have to really dig through and find it all the way down here.
Yeah.
mainly because we're not ready to sign people up. So this is kind of like a wait list, and then we reach out to you and do a very, very high touch process before agreeing on some contract and then sending over an invoice and stuff like that. So very traditional process. Do you think that we're the kind of customer that you would be targeting?
I think so. Like the way that we thought about building, the way that we thought about, Salesbricks is like, we don't care where you are in your journey of go to market. So you could be gating a lot of your pricing and packaging information, even basic things about your product because you want to qualify them. We've built out a pricing brochure that allows you, when you're ready to send it to the prospect and collaborate with them on pricing, you just send them a URL-based brochure that actually behind the scenes can facilitate the transaction. Or you could actually embed components of pricing and packaging that you could go design within our admin page and then expose it within your website. So if you already have a pricing page that has all of your rich branding and colors and design, like you could just embed components of pricing and packaging, just like the product and pricing tiles, and then the feature matrix within that. And we are very lightweight, hosting and managing all of the components about pricing and packaging, just like how Lever would do it and would host the careers page for a lot of these companies. You don't have to go be tied to the hip to an engineer to always update HTML, CSS, and all that stuff. So we don't care where you are in your journey, but behind the scenes, the actual engine is all the same. Like it's basically the subscription engine, the entitlements engine, the database of all your customers and what they bought, how they bought, what price they bought. All of that stuff should be under one pane of glass. And that's kind of the beauty of Salesbricks is we allow you to sell anywhere you want, but ultimately all your customer entitlement subscription data is all there. And when they're ready to go buy more products of your company, we could also offer a self-service widget within your product for them to go self-manage and upgrade their plans. So that's the beauty of putting everything under one place. And a lot of companies out there, like they're all scattered. Like your entitlements information, your order forms are in Box, they're in Stripe, they're in Salesforce, and it's just a pain in the ass to go, become a unicorn and scale your customers and empower them to buy more. You have to have a sales conversation with a human in order to do that.
Gotcha. Okay, so a lot of and so I think this is a very full service thing. Do you have one of those public URL links available that we can take a look at?
Yeah. Are you saying like an example of a pricing?
Yes, an example. Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't let me send you one real quick.
Unless you want to, if you want to screen share, you can just show me around. I don't have to drive it. Yeah. But I just like seeing examples because it makes it really concrete.
Yeah, let me do one that's because we're doing a bunch of POCs.
Yeah, I should have prepped you for this. I'm sorry. So what a lot of companies do these days, actually, they have a example customer called Piper, and then they'll have just a whole bunch of mock data.
Yeah, I have that. So let me just I'll show you both the internal admin page and also the external, and I'll walk you through both.
Okay. All right, I think I'm getting a strong view because sorry.
This is an example of a pricing and packaging page that I would host. It takes literally minutes to go set this up versus a bunch of hours or days with the developer. So you build out your plans. We ask you, is it services? Is it software? Is it training? And then we ask you all these variations of pricing, and then we go program it within here. And so here's an example where there's 3 plans. If you buy more licenses, the unit cost gets cheaper, and it's easy to understand as a buyer because I now know and enabled to buy more because I know I'm saving more money. So just digitally enabling them on this kind of interactive brochure is already helping the customer buy. And so I can understand what each of these features are. And then when I'm ready to purchase, I just click a few buttons and I'm ready to go check out. So I'm going to go build out a plan. This is one of the plans. I'm going to buy some services. I'm going to buy an LMS training license, and I'm going to buy 15 seats. And then maybe about 5 of these bad boys. And as you can tell, I'm already kind of pricing out my plan. I agree to some terms and conditions. I can even send this to my legal team, and they could give me the green light. And then when I'm ready to buy, I can either purchase with a credit card or an order form. So just super easy for you to check out.
Yeah. Okay. So this one is a little bit like no one puts 46,000 on the credit card. I mean, not normal people.
You'll be surprised.
I know.
I work for a company called, I won't say the company, it's an A16Z backed company. And Pepsi Cola was saying, is there any way for me to transact so I don't have to physically sign something? Because if I physically have to sign something, then I'm going to have to bring you to procurement hell. And it's going to take 6 months. And if it's only 46,000, you're probably going to be in the low end of the list. And so the guy was like, I got a Brex card. If you got something for me to check out, like, let's do it. And we couldn't do it. And it took the deal 3 more months to go do because we had to go through procurement help. So, I mean, we could have caught $46,000 and maybe raised a higher valuation because we were going through a fundraising process, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. There's some companies out there where maybe, their threshold is $10,000, $8,000 to buy a piece of software on their credit card. And we allow you to do both. So within the order form route, if you can't use a Brex card for this, you just press complete order. And then automatically there's an order form that goes through your inbox. And then you basically sign it. And then both parties sign it. And then you get automatically provisioned to the product that you just bought.
Oh, the provisioning. Yeah, that's also a really tricky part, which is how do you integrate with my provisioning side of things?
Yeah, so we're going to need to work with the development team to go connect both products together. So we're actually coming up with a bunch of API libraries and a console where somebody from the product team can go connect Salesbricks with your product. And then we do a nice handhold and also a bunch of webhooks for you to go. We'll handle all the passing of the credentials to the customer once there's a successful transaction.
Gotcha. Okay.
And you'll imagine, like in a lot of enterprise companies, and I'm going to use, the top, 3 or 4 VCs out there. It takes probably a day to 2 days for somebody to physically get access to the $100,000 of software they bought, and it's because it's a very manual process. You'll be very surprised that finance teams actually do the provisioning in a company because they have to do a lot of rev rec stuff. They have to give turn on the subscription exactly when the contract says, but all that stuff can be done with software, and customers will get access instantly, and the the NPS scores just will be much higher than if it was a manual process where they're constantly waiting for access to the product they just bought.
Yeah, totally. No, we've definitely felt that pain point at my company as well. So anything to smooth it along, I think it will be ideal. Unfortunately, we don't have an automatically provisioned, like we need humans to provision it. So we can't even automate it for you guys anyway, if we were to integrate with you.
We also manual provisioning. So we would ask for an email alias that say, hey, go now manually provision this. So we can, you can define what the final mile is after a transaction.
Yeah. Okay. A couple more sort of kind of basic establishing questions. What if I want to go for usage-based billing rather than seat-based?
Yeah, that's a question. We took a big a vote within the company to go build out the subscription components of our product first, because that represents about 85 to 90% of SaaS out there. So it was just the bigger market to go reach out to. In fact, the usage-based billing is something that's in our next sprint, which actually is the easiest thing to go program within our product. So usage-based billing is super easy. We're walking through the kind of the roadmap right now and figuring out what are the requirements. We're speaking with a bunch of beta customers and seeing how they would like to design it. But that's definitely something we want to go tackle afterwards, because there are companies out there that do a subscription plus a usage base. So another example of that is like Trip Actions, right? They have a platform fee, and then for every travel booking that their employees would do on the platform, it's $25. It's $15 of a fee, and we could go handle that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that essentially means is that you're no longer displaying a real number. It's a rate
Exactly.
on this checkout form.
Exactly.
So okay.
And then the customer will get a bill on a monthly basis, just like how they would get a PG&E bill for their energy consumption per month.
Right. Well, I kind of went through my affinity to the usage-based billing process is that we went through that subscription to usage-based transition, and it took us a year and Notify. And mostly it was like instrumenting the code base enough that we could charge on those value metrics.
Yeah.
And then also doing the billing and all that. So I think you could take away some of that pain. I did do a dive into the usage-based billing providers maybe about 6 months ago. I don't know if you have any views on this space in general, because I'm pretty interested in that, mostly because like all SaaS companies are interested in negative churn, right? Like, or like, I don't know, dollar expansion, whatever you call it.
Yeah. Net-based retention.
Yeah, NDR, yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting model. I think you're definitely making it easier, and I'm a fan of handing over control to sales. Like, to me, this is when you said sort of something that you said that really resonated with me was like, it's like lever, right? For like like HR or recruiting handles that public page, so some developer doesn't have to get in the way, right? Because that's what they.
So here's an example of how one would now need to manage pricing at a SaaS-based company. So you no longer need to go be tied to hip to with an engineer. All of the variations of your pricing and packaging, if you want to update it, we do versioning control of each plan. There's now an interface to do that, and it's going to be empowering the CROs and the sales ops and the rev ops organization to go make updates to their pricing and packaging, which will immediately get reflected on the connection to their pricing page if they would to embed our pricing components within their pricing page. So you no longer have to set up a meeting with an engineer, because, by the way, like in my last two companies, trying to recruit an engineer to work on these commerce.
Oh yeah.
Like, I couldn't even get a book of time. I had to literally yell at the CRO or the CEO of the company and say, hey, nobody's giving me the time of day. Our investors are trying to force us to go down market, get velocity, because Datadog was freaking, taking our lunch for every one deal we closed. Like, they closed 100 on their credit card system, right? And no engineer wanted to go help us out. And if they did help us out, it took 6 months to just scope out the freaking project. And then by the time, like, Datadog already seeded 1,000 customers. So that's what we had, and that's probably the reason why I started Salesbricks.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I definitely feel that pain. Okay, anything else that we should know about the general sort of product as it is today?
That's pretty much it. I think the vision of Salesbricks is really to, I'm very inspired by Mark Andreessen's comments around software is eating the world. I think there's a little variation to that, which is software is eating sales. And I think if we can automate a lot of the sales tasks in the final mile or even the top of the funnel, I think the benefit to buyers is there's just a better way to buy. There's a more frictionless way to buy. And I think Salesbricks really is on a mission to automate a lot of these things that will make it easier for tech buyers to buy a product and not have to spend multiple meetings and a bunch of their time with the sales organization to understand what they sell and how they sell and try to buy. And there's just a lot of opportunity, whether it be Salesbricks or other companies that have yet to even be started, to really innovate and chip away at this very challenging industry.
Yeah, totally. I would like to, so I think I need a bit of market education. You know a lot about this space. The other term that comes to mind that's related is revenue ops. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah, so I technically was a revenue ops leader, like in the last 3 companies.
Yeah.
Changed from sales ops to revenue ops because I think sales just didn't have a good lingo to it. And sales ops, and revenue ops actually go and handles like from lead to actually getting paid. And so, revenue ops would be tied to the hip with the finance organization to make sure that, rev rec is adhered to based on ASC 606, accounting principles that always change every year to generate billions of dollars of consulting fees. It's a great business to be in if anybody wants to choose a focus in college. But yeah, like we're literally on the hook to make sure we get paid, like the whole process end to end. That's what my job was in the last 3 companies.
Okay. I mean, so part of this actually, it's weird because people can self-check out, because it's so bottom up, there's no actual person managing this. It's kind of weird. It diminishes the role of sales in the traditional sense.
I think there's we're chipping away at it. I don't think we're gonna instantly, like overnight, replace sales organization. I think what's going to happen is a lot of companies will not need to hire 50 sales reps. They might need to only hire 40 or 35.
Yeah.
And they might not need to hire 10 sales ops people. Maybe they might need to only hire 5, because half of the customers that are becoming a customer is actually creating their own order, and they don't need paperwork because it's happening within our platform. So that's, I think, the next 3 to 5 years what we'll see, and how we kind of help companies save money and reduce CAC and accelerate the sales process.
Yeah. Okay. A couple questions about integrations or data export or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sure you plug into Salesforce. Anything else that people should know?
Salesforce is mandatory, right? Like 80% of companies use Salesforce. It's actually dwindling because Salesforce is not really speaking to the way people are buying and selling, software and technology.
I was told that 5 years ago. It hasn't happened. People still we're still buying Salesforce.
That's right. What we're starting to see is a lot of people using like HubSpot or Pipedrive and a lot of other ones that are more PLG focused.
Okay.
But yeah, we do connect into CRM. So anything that happens within our platform, any transactions that happen, it automatically writes into your Salesforce database. It finds the relevant accounts and opportunity, and it writes into that. We also connect to a bunch of billing systems. So if you have no billing system at all, and a customer bought through an order form, we automatically create the invoice for you. And if you want to turn it on, we will send it to your customer. But if you want to use your own like ERP or like a QuickBooks or any other billing system, you can mute invoices on our platform. And then we basically pass over all the metadata of the transaction and the billing details, and then we tell your invoicing engine to go do it themselves. We also connect to Stripe. So if you want money to hit your bank and have your customers pay with a credit card, with our PCI compliant Stripe integration, we allow you to put your bank account information, and within 3 days of the transaction, Stripe will basically pass over all the proceeds to your bank account. And we have a bunch of other integrations that are in our roadmap, which we're still trying to figure out which is a priority based on customers and prospects.
Cool. By the way, Temporal is actually really good at doing those kinds of integrations. If you ever need help to, if you need help to make those more reliable, essentially, like if you, especially if they're multi-step, where that's our job. That's what we do. Not to turn this into a reverse sales call, but
Yeah.
if you have that problem.
You're not working there. Are you an investor or?
I am working there. I'm head of developer experience at Temple.
Oh, Topo. Okay. Got
it. I can send you along some things to read on that if you're interested. Okay, so and then one more thing about just like tell me about like general vision of the company. Like, is this what are you modeling the company development or business model after in your mind? Like, sort of what are your business heroes?
Yeah, my business heroes is definitely there's two I think of, actually three. So number one is Lever. So what Lever did to careers page and recruiters and basically empower that organization to just do it themselves and have a platform to manage their entire job. I think that we have some of that similar DNA and how we want to go do that for sales and also for revenue operators. So that's one of my inspirations. The other one is Datadog. Datadog did a really great job of going down market, making their product easy to buy, really having this relationship with the developers and not trying to sell them their product, but just educate them on, visibility into the cloud applications, giving them the resources and tools to do that. They created wildfires within the DevOps organizations of these companies. And they were actually, the customers were actually knocking on Datadog's door saying, hey, I can't no longer spend $8,000 with you guys. I need to spend $200,000. Give me a contract, let's go. So their go-to-market is just phenomenal. There's a podcast that I listen to on a monthly basis just to remind me about my mission. I'll send that to you.
Which one?
It's with OpenView is one of their investors, and they have a podcast about how Datadog went from $0 to $500 million in a few years. And obviously IPO'd for $50 billion valuation. It's a great podcast. They even talk about how they crushed the competition, which I was the competition, and I was the simplify the sales process, and we were just a little bit more complex to buy from. And then the last one is Stripe. I think Stripe just does a really good job of being very lightweight in the background of a lot of these businesses, specifically in the B2C world. And so there's just a lot of things I have to learn about how they make it easy for developers to just implement their product within, their stack and the user experience. And then basically they're taking 3% for every credit card transaction, and that's huge.
The Stripe tax, yeah.
Stripe tax. They're literally printing money, right? And so I don't know. Those are the three companies that I look up to that drive me every day.
Okay, got it. So I have a little bit of a cognitive dissonance here because like, who is the ideal buyer for Salesbricks, right? Like, is it the salesperson or is it a developer, right? Like, and you seem very motivated on the developer side, but like, to me, this seems more appealing to the sales org.
Yeah, that's something that we're trying to figure out early on, and obviously in our startup kind of stage.
Sure.
I think there's definitely a lot of money to go after in these companies that have inside sales reps and invested in a commercial team, where their whole like legacy in life and mission is to make the transaction easier for the buyer and maybe sell them a lower ASP, just get them hooked on the product. And a lot of those companies and organizations are still using these huge, massive enterprise tools to go close these velocity deals. And that's a fireable offense. Like, I think if there's one thing that a sales leader should not do is use a bazooka to go, catch a mouse, right? And that's what a lot of these commercial teams are doing with CPQ and with a lot of the other tools that would slow down the process. And you literally would spend and invest $10 million in your velocity business, but still give them those tools that slow it down. Like, you're literally wiping out all that investment. And we did it again at SignalFX. Like we wrote that off because we were forcing the commercial team to do the same exact process as the enterprise team, closing $1 million deals. And so I think that's a huge market for us, and I think that's where we're going to spend most of our time. But ultimately, what I envision is in the next year or so, we're in a business where developers would get $5 million to start a business, and the first 5 things that they buy is Salesbricks, because they want to not have to reinvent the wheel and create custom code to take a dollar. Like, they just need to use Salesbricks, connect it, and then start taking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a really great pitch and a great vision as well.
Yeah,
so
and those companies, like very early stage companies, they don't have time to invest 33% of their engineering time to reinvent something that already exists. Like, that's where you slow down innovation, your ability to get more money, to get more customers. It's a cancerous approach to how you go build out a business.
Yeah, totally. Okay. What would you like developer feedback on?
I'd like someone to understand and walk through our API, public APIs, to understand how we're thinking about some of the features for our developers. We haven't quite built that out yet, but once we do, once we build out the console so that you can connect into Salesbricks with your product, do feature flagging stuff, setting up auto provisioning, maybe gating features based on add-ons or upgrade things that you have to go buy, pay for. Those are the types of stuff we definitely love feedback once we're in that position in the company, and we build.
Okay, so it's not live yet, but that's what you're going to be focusing on.
We have a lot of stuff that's in our that we need to push out, and we'll probably be in that position probably in about a month.
Yeah, cool. Anything else that you wanted to discuss? Just general feedback.
I think that's it. I mean, I've been rambling on most of the time.
No, this is really great. Actually, I think you have a very clear vision of what you're building and who you're building it. I mean, where you want to end up. I think you're still figuring out who you're building it for, or like who's going to be the ultimate buyer. But like, you have a lot of domain expertise in the space, and I think it clearly shows.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're also open to feedback from developers, from technical folks, and even go-to-market leaders. But yeah, like, we're in a transition to digitizing our work, and I think this is a great way to do so in B2B sales.
I think for me, like, it's weird because you have that thing where you went like, okay, here's how we fit in a top-down versus bottom-up versus self-service type of mode. To me, it's much easier to see you as a bottom-up or self-service type of field, and maybe like some amount of focus there could be good. That said, like, yeah, I mean, there's definitely potential for the more upmarket part of the customer base. So I don't really know where this goes. It's weird because I do try to envision how we could use you as a customer, and I definitely think that there's some things that you could manage for us there. It's just that we need to be able to auto provision because that's our bottleneck, and you have nothing to do with that. So
yeah, well, you're saying that a lot of the success factors of auto provisioning is like it's a 50-50 relationship where the vendor also, our customer, has to be mature enough to pass through that information, so we could tell them when to do that based on a successful transaction, and then vice versa, deprovisioning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I'd love to, like, maybe maybe next week or sometime this month, like, just to pull your thoughts on like why you guys are not there yet, what you need to do in order to be there, because that's something that we need to know about our prospects and customers so that we can guide them through the process, right? It's not like you don't want to be in that position, like you do. There's just a lot of work that needs to be done on your guys' part in order to meet us at the bridge, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, happy to talk about that. Okay. All right. I mean, this is really good. I will say that, I think I came at this with my own preconceptions about what you might be. And so something that I was also thinking about was Profitwell, which studies pricing for other companies. And I thought that I've always been in the market for something that is essentially like a pricing page optimizer. Like
I see.
do your A/B testing, do copy, do whatever, and I'll plug in variations, and you just figure it out for me and give me analytics on like how well it does. So you're clearly not that, but that's where I initially thought this was headed.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know how they do it, but I think the biggest metric around it is which pricing page version is yielding more conversion, right? Like,
Yeah.
are they assuming? I'm assuming that they track like dwell time or engagement with the actual pricing page, but then they also probably determine like how many actual transactions are happening based on all these versions of your pricing page.
Yeah, I mean that's Profitwell, plugs in directly to Stripe and does that for you. I was hoping for a more managed solution, but I think this is fine. Like it's hard to just randomly change pricing or your pricing page and not be sure like who's getting what. So I think Profitwell has gone for giving people more control, whereas you're more managed, but like you're much more focused on like the revenue ops side
Yeah.
of things than
Like here's an interesting thing that we've been hearing from prospects, like they want to gate features. So if they have an analytics tool and they want to give it to the customer for 90 days, and then after 90 days they pull it out, and then they replace that screen with like an upgrade button, right? We could track like potentially we could go build out features where we could track, okay, out of 1,000 unique impressions of an upgrade button, how many people actually swiped their credit card and bought it, right? Maybe only 5 people out of 1,000 bought it. And then what that does is those are metrics that send back to the product team and says, hey, this feature, nobody fucking wants to go pay for it, right? Deprecate it and stop putting engineering time to go manage it. But there's another feature which is called analytics. After 90 days of using it, people are literally on their knees swiping their credit card. For every 1,000, 950 of them are swiping their card. Yeah, go continue to invest in that feature, make it even better, making versions of it so that you can also upgrade after upgrading, right, to an even more robust like dashboard or analytics. And then that's the way that you're going to go figure out how to monetize components of your products. We
Yeah.
could do that, right? Because we do feature flagging, we could gate. We know what the customer's current entitlements are, and when they swipe their card, we now know that they also have access to this. There's a lot of things we could do if we really make use of a lot of the data that we have around subscription entitlements.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. I would say that I would not bet too heavily on that sort of data-driven trial thing, basically because like understanding how product management is done in a lot of at tech companies now, like it's a very slow moving ship, and you have to do a lot of research before you build the thing rather than after.
Yeah, that's good advice. And like, obviously, dreamers will always go
I know.
down on earth, right? But there's a lot of things that there's just so many things that we could really own and enable and allow our customers to optimize around their go-to-market and monetization plan, like strategies, because we have all the data and we control the subscriptions, and then we can utilize that to tell them stories and help them make decisions. But you're right, like we got to do a lot of research in this, that part of the organization before we invest in those products of our
Yeah, see. Okay, all right, well, this is great, thank you so much. I'm gonna stop the recording there, and thanks
yeah,
for sharing.
this was fun because